Alright, now a big question I get from customers are, where do I put the weight? You know, why am I doing this and what's going to happen? And I can give you a general idea where to go with this stuff, guys, but I can't tune every sled. I mean, there are so many variables involved in clutching. There's weight of the rider, there is pipe configuration. You could have binding clutches on your sled. You could have timing problems. I mean, there's so many things that are involved. It's so hard to just textbook a setup for a sled. That's why I really don't offer clutch kits. If I do offer a clutch kit, it's something that I have tested here on our track dyno, or I have done in the field, and I'm very confident with it'll work. Okay, and then again, that's probably going to need some tweaking as well. That's why we designed the adjustable cam arms, so it's so easy to adjust and get things, you know, dialed in. So anyway, we like to have the weight in the back, like we talked about. We like that 14 grams back here possible. You can run 2 washers in the back if you want. If that's what your motor likes. I mean, if you got a zinger that you really don't want it to grunt down low and pull the belt hard, then, you know, distribute the weight along the arm the way you see fit. But for what I suggest you start out with, I like them heavy in the back. Okay, work in the center. Put as much weight to adjust the cam arm in the center. Work with the center the most of the time. Okay, if you got to add more weight to the arm and you got nowhere else to put it in the tip, put it in the tip. I don't like to see more than 6 grams in the tip. The reason for this is the way a cam arm works is it sits inside your clutch, like say at a line that is basically like that. Let's see, a parallel line, something like that. Let's say the tip sits down below that pin at engagement. Okay, all this mass here above that pin, you see that's why we put that tungsten there, is what gets this weight going up and over, out of the clutch, initial shift. It pulls this tip out of there. If you put too much weight down here on this tip, it says, centrifugal force, I want to go this way. I'm going to pull that cam arm down into the clutch because there's more mass down here than there is above this pin here. Okay, let me explain that a little better. Here's a movable ship, okay, with a cam arm in it. Okay, obviously, you know, your cam arm's gonna come up here and hit the roller, and what makes everything happen is this thing starts spinning, and centrifugal force whacks that baby up, and it pushes against that roller, thus, you know, shifting the clutch, grabbing the belt, and down the old snow path you go. What you see here is, see what's nice, this little window, you can see where that cam arm is. Let's see if I can get that viewed in for you a little better. See how low that is below that pin, that tip? If you look at the center line here, let's see if I can adjust this right here, and then you go inside and look at this cam arm in here. Let's see if I can get it from the opposite side. Look how low that tip is compared to that pin. Okay, so if you put weight down here, right where my pencil's at, all that weight down below that pin is going to want to swing down. It's going to go, I'm not coming out of there. I'm too heavy down here, because this mass back here is not pulling it out. So the idea is to keep the back side of the arm, these 2 areas right here, heavier, so that we can get that tip going. Once that tip gets, say, let's see if we can line that right above that pin, then everything's rocking and rolling. You know, now we got all the forces we want. All that weight now is working. But when it's down below that center line of that pin, it ain't working. It's working against you. Okay, so lighter tips are better. Lighter tips are better for trail. Lighter tips are better for drag racing. The only time that I would see fit for a heavy tipped arm would be on, like, say, a radar run where you're just going for miles, you know, and you're trying to get mile an hour. The only problem by doing that is you're going to have a hard time engaging the clutch, because it's going to want to engage very high. That weight, it's going to have to rev way up to get that weight going out of there. So, for the most part, I like light tips. Okay? All right, moving on. Alright, let's see, we'll need this guy right here. Let's move this stuff out of the way. Alright. This is basically our Rage 8 clutch, and we'll get into that in other videos, but I'm using this just for demonstration at this time. This simulates an Arctic clutch, okay? The fixed pin Arctic clutch. And what they do is they have a pin that pivots. The pin itself, they have bushings on the outboard side of the arm. The bushings are not inside the arm, okay? They pivot because the arm is fixed to the pin, okay? So it pivots between those two bushings, okay, on the outside. Great idea because it causes less wear, a lot more surface area for the pin itself to be on it versus, you know, the width of the cam arm with a bushing in it on a pin. Those things, especially with the heavier arms and the bigger torque machines today, it just wears them right out. So that is what the hole is in the back of the arm. Now, if you've got a Polaris cam arm or something with a 1/4-inch pin in it and it's got a bushing pressed in there, don't let this hole bother you. It's only there to fix it to the fixed pin of an Arctic clutch. It's only used for the use of a set screw that comes in this kit and nothing else, okay? Now I'm going to show you how to install that in a basically our Rage clutch or an Arctic clutch. And there's some tips about the Arctic clutch. A lot of people don't know. You can actually make your clutch perform better just by taking the thing apart when you get it. Alright, the key is this pin has to pivot freely with that cam arm on it, okay? See how the nut's moving? It's pivoting between these bushings. If I tighten that up too tight, well, let's back up. What I like to do is I like to tighten these guys. I like to tighten these guys so they just snug up. I can just feel it snugging up and it ain't moving, okay? Well, and then what do? Is I'll back it off about a 1/4 turn. Just enough so that cam arm, that's not quite enough. Just like that, will fall. You don't have any side play. You don't have any side play out here, back and forth. The cam arm falls. That is the best scenario. If you get this too tight, it does two things wrong to the clutch, okay? One, it binds the weight, and it makes the weight act like it's, it makes it act as if it's lighter, okay? You're not getting the full use of the cam arm weight you have in that clutch. Another thing it does is it pulls these towers together. And you'd be surprised, just a little over torque will bring these two towers in 10,000ths. And what happens, you got your spider going up and down in here with buttons on it, okay? It'll bind it up. Now you probably lost 30% of performance out of your clutch. A lot of people don't even know that. I mean, it'll work, but it'll smoke belts, it'll pull too many RPM, it'll just ruin the whole gig. So, very important. Now on the Arctic, what we found is they have these O-rings. We use a Delrin washer, we don't use the O-rings, but they use O-rings. When they come from the factory, they are so darn tight that you can't hardly move that cam arm with your finger, okay? And I just explained what that's all about. So what we suggest you do, if you just want to enhance the performance of that Arctic clutch, is lighten up, back that nut off until you do exactly what I explained. It pivots until you just get no slop, or maybe just maybe say 2 to 5,000 slop. You can feel it in your hands. That weight falls. Take that nut and Loctite it. I would suggest red Loctite because they don't have a lock nut on their setup. Not when you back it out, it won't lock. Okay. When that arm falls, you're going to find that cam arm is going to act a lot heavier, and then your performance of your whole clutch is going to increase. So, quick installation idea here, method that I like to use. Like say you got your set screw. I'll take this one out. You can actually look in that hole, okay? And you can pivot that around. I don't know if you can see that. See it go by. Little pivot. There's a little dimple in that, in these pins. Arctic's the same as ours, okay? We line that dimple up with that hole. Install your set screw. Don't tighten it all the way down, okay? Bring it down till it's just snug and back it off a little bit. and then rotate the pin with this hand here on my right hand, this guy over here. I'm going to rotate that. I can feel that camera arm going back and forth, or the pin going back and forth, but it's stopping. That's because the set screw's in there far enough, and I found that dimple. So now that I found that dimple, I just tighten up that set screw. And don't forget to Loctite that set screw. That has to be Loctite, and keep an eye on them. They're known to come out. Many times I've seen them, stock clutches, our clutches, they just like to come out. Can't explain it. Maybe it's heat. Don't know. In some applications I've seen, maybe some people forget to put Loctite on them, but don't forget to do that. And I believe that covers pretty much all of it. We'll be posting more videos on the website as we go along. We'll be explaining, how clutches work and some 101s, to shimming clutches. And hopefully this helps you out. So, sayonara. That's the end of this one. You guys have a good day.